On the edge of the known universe, where starlight flickers like the last beats of a distant drum, a small, bustling space station orbits a dying star. It's a hub for traders, adventurers, and those who live on the fringes of galactic society. Among them is Mira, a young and curious member of the Tarnak species, identifiable by her shimmering blue skin and eyes that sparkle like the starry void. Mira's journey to this distant outpost was driven by her insatiable curiosity about human culture, a subject she studied during her time at the Galactic Unity University. Humans, though not the most advanced species, had a certain chaotic charm that fascinated her. Their emotions, art, and especially their food were subjects of endless intrigue, yet nothing prepared her for the cookie, a simple baked treat revered among humans for its delightful taste and comforting effects. On a day like any other, as Mira floated through the crowded market of the space station, her sensitive nostrils twitched at a new scent. It was sweet and buttery, an aroma that pulled at her with an almost magnetic force. Following it led her to a small makeshift stall with a sign that read, "Earth Delicacies." Behind the counter, an elderly human with a warm smile and a checkerboard apron greeted her. "Welcome, young lady. Here to try some homemade Earth treats?" Mira nodded, her eyes drawn to a tray of round, golden-brown discs. "What are these?" she inquired, her voice tinged with curiosity. "Cookies," the man replied, his smile broadening. "Chocolate chip, to be precise. A favorite back on Earth. Would you like to try one?" Without hesitation, Mira agreed. The human handed her a cookie, and she examined it closely, noting the chocolate chips that dotted its surface like tiny, dark stars against a doughy galaxy. Tentatively, Mira took a bite. The flavors exploded in her mouth, sweet, slightly salty, with a richness that was utterly foreign. The chocolate chips melted on her tongue, releasing a rush of pleasure that seemed to ripple through her entire being. As the cookie's effects set in, something extraordinary happened. Mira felt her senses heighten, her mind whirl with a burst of euphoria that was almost too intense to bear. The simple act of eating a human cookie had stirred something within her, a sensation so powerful that it bordered on the aggressive in its pleasure. Around her, the space station continued its usual buzz of activity, but Mira was no longer part of it. She stood there, transfixed by the experience, her heart pounding, her thoughts racing. What was this magic? How could a simple human treat evoke such a reaction? The elderly man watched her with a mix of amusement and concern. "It's quite something, isn't it? They say it's just sugar, flour, and chocolate, but I swear there's a bit of Earth magic in every bite." Mira could only nod, her mind still swimming. As the initial rush began to subside, she was left with a warm, comforting feeling that settled into her bones. She knew then that her exploration of human cuisine was just beginning. This cookie was not merely a treat. It was a gateway to a deeper understanding of human culture, and perhaps an understanding of herself. As she left the stall, cookie in hand, her thoughts were clear. She needed to learn more, experience more. This journey was no longer just about study or exploration. It was about discovery, about bridging two worlds with something as simple yet profound as a cookie. And so, under the dim light of the dying star, Mira's adventure took a new turn, driven by a craving not just for cookies, but for knowledge and connection. Little did she know, the path ahead was filled with as many mysteries and revelations as the cosmos itself. As Mira navigated the corridors of the space station, the memory of the cookie's effects lingered, her senses still tingling from the encounter. Her mind, now hyper-aware, picked up on every detail around her. The soft hum of the station's reactors, the colorful mosaic of alien languages drifting through the air, and the subtle, complex aromas mingling in the bustling marketplace. Driven by a newfound purpose, Mira returned to the Earth Delicacies stall the following day. The elderly human greeted her with a knowing nod, as if he had been expecting her. "Back for more Earth magic?" he asked, his eyes twinkling with mirth. "Yes, but more than that," Mira replied, her voice firm and her gaze intense. "I want to learn how to make them. I want to understand what makes them so powerful." The man's expression softened, a mix of surprise and respect coloring his features. "Very well," he said after a moment's pause. "I admire your spirit. Come around back. I'll show you the basics." The makeshift kitchen behind the stall was cramped and cluttered with ingredients and utensils from various planets. The man began with the basics, explaining each component with a meticulous care that suggested each was a precious artifact. "Flour, sugar, eggs, and chocolate," he listed, his hands moving deftly as he combined them. Simple, yet when mixed with a bit of earth tradition and a touch of home, they transform. Mira watched, fascinated, as he demonstrated the creaming of butter and sugar, the folding in of flour, and the final addition of chocolate chips. Each step was an alchemy of sorts, turning ordinary materials into something transcendent. "Your turn," the man said, handing her a spoon. Mira mimicked his actions, her hands unsteady at first but quickly finding the rhythm of the process. As she stirred the mixture, she felt a connection not just to the food, but to the earth itself, as if each turn of the spoon brought her closer to understanding the human spirit. Once the cookies were shaped and placed in the oven, the waiting began. Mira and the man sat in companionable silence, the only sound the gentle whir of the oven. Mira's thoughts drifted to her own home, a distant world with its own customs and foods, so different yet driven by the same basic need for connection and understanding. When the timer dinged, they both stood, and the man opened the oven. A wave of warm, sweet air brushed against Mira's face, and she felt that now familiar rush of excitement. They placed the cookies on a cooling rack, and the man offered her the first sample of their joint effort. Taking a bite, Mira closed her eyes, allowing the flavors to envelop her. This cookie was different. It was hers, infused with her touch and the knowledge she had gained. The effects were just as potent, filling her with a warmth that seemed to echo through her very core. "You've got a natural touch," the man said, watching her reaction with a pleased nod. Mira opened her eyes, her mind alive with possibilities. "Thank you," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "This is more than food. It's a bridge I hope to share." With a new recipe in her possession and a deeper understanding of the delicate art of earth baking, Mira knew she was on the verge of something monumental. She could use this knowledge, this experience, to build connections not just between herself and humans, but between all who ventured through this bustling space station. Her mission was clear: to spread the magic of these simple yet profound cookies to all corners of the galaxy. Mira set up her own stall at the far end of the marketplace, a modest booth draped in fabrics from her homeworld, vibrant blues and purples that reflected her skin and spirit. The sign above read, "Cosmic Delights," a nod to her new venture. Her table displayed not only cookies but also a small collection of Tarnak spices, introducing a fusion that had never been seen before on the station. Word of her unique cookies spread quickly. Beings from various planets and species stopped by, drawn by rumors of the extraordinary effects of her baked goods. Mira served each customer with a smile, her heart swelling with pride as she watched their expressions transform upon tasting her creations. Among her visitors was Thal, a grizzled old navigator from a species known for their olfactory sensitivity. He approached the stall, his nostrils flaring as he sniffed the air appreciatively. "What have you got here, young Tarnak?" he asked, his voice rough like gravel. "Cookies infused with a touch of earth and Tarnak," Mira responded, offering him a plate. "They're meant to bridge worlds, to mix the familiar with the new." Thal selected a cookie, examining it closely before taking a cautious bite. His eyes widened in surprise, and then a slow smile crept across his weathered face. This is remarkable," he murmured. "I can taste the stars, the journey of flavors between galaxies." His reaction was the highest praise Mira could have hoped for. His words, poetic and sincere, reinforced her belief in her culinary mission. Thal's endorsement brought even more curious souls to her stall, each eager to experience the taste of the cosmos through Mira's baking. As her reputation grew, so did her skills. Mira began to experiment with ingredients brought by traders, fruits that shimmered with internal light, nuts that had been harvested from the cores of collapsed stars, and creams that were said to be harvested from the milk of moon beasts. Each new batch of cookies was a testament to her growing mastery and creativity. One day, as the station's artificial sun dipped below the horizon of the viewing decks, a figure approached her stall. It was a human, but not just any human. Commander Eli Voss, the station's chief of operations. His presence at her humble stall sent a ripple of whispers through the crowd. "Commander," Mira greeted, trying to mask her nervousness with a courteous nod. "Mira, I've heard much about your cookies. They say you've mastered an Earth tradition and made it your own," Eli said, his tone both curious and commanding. "I've tried my best, sir. Would you like to try one?" Mira offered him a plate. Eli picked a cookie, his movements measured, and took a bite. His stoic expression softened as the flavors melded in his mouth, a rare smile breaking through his usually impassive demeanor. "This is extraordinary, Mira. Not only have you brought a piece of Earth to this corner of the galaxy, but you've also enhanced it, made it something uniquely universal. It's not just the humans on this station who talk about your cookies. It's everyone. You've started something special here." Mira felt a surge of pride and accomplishment. "Thank you, Commander. I hope to continue doing so, bringing a bit of sweetness and connection to our diverse community here." Commander Voss nodded, his eyes reflecting a depth of sincerity. "Keep up the good work, Mira. The station could use more of this. More of what bridges our differences and celebrates what we share." As he walked away, leaving a trail of thoughtful silence, Mira turned back to her cookies, her mind alive with ideas for her next creation. Each cookie was a universe, each bite a starburst of culture and unity, and she was just getting started. The space station's annual Festival of the Galaxies was approaching, an event that celebrated the cultural diversity of its inhabitants with a grand fair, music, and a galactic culinary contest. Mira decided to enter her cookies, inspired to showcase her fusion of Earth and Tarnak flavors to a wider audience. In the weeks leading up to the festival, Mira's stall became her laboratory. She experimented with bold combinations, infusing her cookies with exotic ingredients that challenged the palates of her patrons. One batch featured zest from Jorvik fruit, known for its ability to change flavor as one ate it, mimicking the sensation of traveling through different climates. Another included a sprinkle of powdered holly and crystals, which popped delightfully in the mouth, a culinary mimicry of starbursts. As the festival drew near, anticipation built within the community. Decorations transformed the station, with streams of light mimicking the aurora borealis of Earth, and holograms of Tarnak's famous luminescent forests. The air was thick with excitement, and the rich, varied sense of interstellar cuisines. On the day of the festival, Mira set up her booth early, decorating it with images of Earth and Tarnak, a visual representation of her culinary mission. She arranged her cookies artfully, each variety labeled with a small handwritten sign that described its ingredients and the story of its creation. The judges of the culinary contest were a diverse group, each a renowned chef or food critic from different corners of the galaxy. As they approached her booth, Mira greeted them with a confident smile, offering each a plate of her special festival batch. "These are not just cookies," Mira explained as the judges sampled her offerings. "They are narratives, each bite an exploration of what it means to be part of this vast cosmos." The judges nodded, their expressions thoughtful as they tasted each cookie. The Jorvik fruit cookies were a particular hit, the changing flavors a delightful surprise that earned Mira approving smiles and curious glances. After the tasting, the crowd around Mira's booth swelled, word of mouth spreading like wildfire. Beings of all shapes and sizes, some with multiple eyes, others with none at all, reached out to try her creations, their languages mingling in a cacophony that was music to Mira's ears. As the festival continued into the night, the judges convened to deliberate. The air was electric with anticipation as participants and spectators alike awaited the announcement of the winners. Finally, the moment arrived, and the chief judge took the stage, a microphone in hand. "The winner of this year's galactic culinary contest," he began, his voice echoing through the station, "is Mira, for her extraordinary fusion cookies, a testament to the power of culinary unity. A roar of applause erupted from the crowd as Mira stepped forward to accept her award, a beautifully crafted medallion representing the unity of the galaxy. Her heart was full, not just from the recognition, but from the knowledge that her cookies had touched so many lives, had brought so many different beings together, if only for a moment. As the festival wound down, Mira returned to her booth, packing up her remaining cookies with a sense of satisfaction. Her creations had gone beyond mere food. They were symbols of cultural synthesis, pieces of art that celebrated the diversity of the galaxy. And as she stored away her signs and wiped down her table, she knew that this was only the beginning of her culinary adventure. With the festival victory still fresh, Mira's reputation soared. Cosmic Delights was no longer just a local favorite. It was a station-wide sensation. Requests for her cookies came from all sectors, including from the prestigious quarters of the station's command crew and visiting dignitaries from afar. Mira expanded her booth, hiring assistants from various species to manage the daily rush and to learn the art of cookie-making under her guidance. Among her new hires was Liz, a young Gentarian known for her delicate touch with pastries on her home planet. Liz brought with her a knowledge of spices that could simulate the sensation of weightlessness, adding another layer to Mira's cookies that perfectly captured the essence of space travel. Together they experimented with creating a cookie that, when eaten, would make one feel as if they were gently floating among the stars. They called it the Void Walker, a dark, rich cookie sprinkled with silvery dust that mimicked the Milky Way. It quickly became a favorite among the station's residents, evoking feelings of peace and a connection with the cosmos. One evening, as Mira was closing up her stall, she was approached by a representative of the Galactic Cultural Exchange Program. The representative, a suave Andromedian named Veer, was charismatic and spoke in a smooth, persuasive tone. "Mira, your work has captured the attention of the Galactic Council. We would like to invite you to participate in an interstellar tour, showcasing your culinary creations across multiple space stations and planets." Mira was taken aback by the offer. The prospect of sharing her cultural fusion on a galactic scale was both exhilarating and daunting. "I'm honored," she said, her voice a mix of excitement and nerves. "I need to think about it. This is a big step." "Of course," Veer replied, his smile understanding. "Take your time, but know that this is a unique opportunity to be an ambassador for culinary unity, to show the galaxy the potential of shared cultures through the art of food." After Veer left, Mira sat alone in her stall pondering the decision. The station had become her home, her launching pad for every culinary adventure, and the thought of leaving, even temporarily, filled her with uncertainty. Yet the chance to spread her vision across the stars was a dream she hadn't dared to imagine. Over the next few days, Mira discussed the opportunity with Liz and her other assistants. They were supportive, excited by the potential of going interstellar. "We can handle things here," Liz assured her, her youthful eyes gleaming with enthusiasm. "You taught us well. It's your turn to take this beyond our corridors." Their encouragement was the push Mira needed. She contacted Veer, accepting the invitation. Preparations began immediately. Recipes were perfected and packaged. A portable kitchen designed for zero-gravity environments was constructed, and a schedule of destinations was mapped out, each a jewel in the sprawling expanse of inhabited space. As the day of departure approached, Mira felt a mix of nerves and excitement. She was about to step onto a new platform, not just to showcase her cookies, but to weave the threads of different worlds into a tapestry of taste that could perhaps, in its small way, unify a galaxy renowned for its boundless diversity. As Mira prepared for her interstellar tour, she immersed herself in the cultures and culinary preferences of the destinations on her itinerary. Each station and planet promised audiences with unique palates and expectations, and she was determined to honor each with a specialized creation. Her first stop was the bustling trade hub of Nivara Station, a melting pot of cultures and species. Here she introduced the Nebula Nibbler, a cookie imbued with a spice that gently shifted flavors in one's mouth, mirroring the ever-changing colors of a nebula. The reception was phenomenal, with lines stretching around her booth. Critics and food enthusiasts alike praised her innovative approach, and the sensory experience it provided. At each subsequent stop, Mira unveiled a new cookie, each designed to reflect and respect the local tastes and traditions. On the aquatic world of Aquaris, she presented the Oceanic Orb, a soft blue cookie with swirls of white, flavored with seaweed extract and hints of salt. It was like tasting the ocean breeze. Aquarisians, known for their preference for seafood, were delighted by the unusual but thoughtful flavor profile. Her tour was not just about serving cookies. It was a journey through the culinary landscapes of the galaxy. Mira held workshops, collaborated with local chefs, and participated in panel discussions about the role of food in cultural identity and diplomacy. Her philosophy of culinary unity resonated deeply, making her not just a baker, but a cultural ambassador. The tour's final stop was at the prestigious Galactic Culinary Institute on Delphinius Prime, where Mira was invited to give a keynote speech. The auditorium was packed with culinary students, chefs, critics, and food lovers from across the galaxy, all eager to hear from the new icon of interstellar cuisine. Standing at the podium, Mira looked out at the sea of faces, her heart swelling with a mix of pride and humility. "When I started baking cookies on a small space station, I never imagined I'd be here today," she began, her voice clear and steady. "Each of you comes from a different corner of our galaxy, each with your own traditions and tastes. Yet here we are, united by our love for food, which I believe is the universal language of our hearts." She spoke of her journey, the people she met, and the lessons learned about the power of sharing a meal. Food transcends boundaries. It can be a simple cookie or a complex feast. Yet the heart of it remains connection, understanding, and the joy of discovery. After her speech, Mira was approached by a group of students, eager to learn more and perhaps to follow in her footsteps. She answered questions, shared advice, and even sketched out cookie recipes. Her influence was palpable, inspiring a new generation to explore culinary arts as a bridge between cultures. As Mira packed up her gear for the return trip, she felt a sense of completion, but also the stirrings of new ideas and possibilities. The galaxy was vast, and its culinary secrets infinite. Her mission to unite cultures through food was just beginning, and she was ready to continue her exploration, one cookie at a time. With a heart full of hope and a notebook brimming with recipes, Mira looked forward to whatever lay ahead, confident in her path and the connection she had fostered across the stars.